All right, so it's sauce time now. So I'm going to put some ketchup on here, about like so. We're going to throw in some mayonnaise. So this ends up being about an ounce and a half of ketchup and mayonnaise each. All right, and I don't know where the spoon is I was using, so I'm going to use the back of this knife. We're just going to spread it around. Because you totally know, if you like mustard and you like ketchup, you know you're totally dipping your French fries in the stuff that squeezes out your burger onto your plate. And this is what it is, right? It's the ketchup and the mayonnaise. If you like mustard, put on some mustard. I don't like mustard, so I'm not putting on any mustard. All right, kind of staying with our cheeseburger theme, the next thing we're going to add is American cheese. Now, I don't want there to be too much American cheese because I found making this before that it can be a little overwhelming. But I'm going to use about 3 or 4 slices and just kind of break them up and spread them on there. So that each bite gets a little bit, but some bites will get more, some will get less. And we're going to finish it with a little bit of cheddar cheese at the end, just because I think that makes for a good balance of cheese. A little bit more. Got a hole there. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to start putting on some of my ingredients. So ones that I want to kind of hide underneath, I can put on first. But I want to show off all this stuff, so I'm not worried about trying to hide anything. I do want my onions to cook a little bit, so I'm going to put those on last. So I'm going to go ahead. I don't want my pickles to cook all that much, so I'm going to sprinkle those on. Have you ever seen a pizza like this? Sprinkle on our tomatoes. And then I'm going to put on our ground beef. You can just kind of spread that around. Now, if you want it to be broken up into really small pieces, break it up into really small pieces. I don't really care, so I left them kind of big. I'm just going to spread it around so that everyone who takes a bite out of this is going to get a little bit of beef. All right, then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle it with some of our cheddar cheese. Actually, the second to last thing we're going to do. I didn't put on the onions yet. Now, you don't need a ton of cheese because there's already some cheese on there. And then our onions. All right, so I'm going to take a couple minutes, get this in the oven, let our pizza dip bread come out of the oven, and then we're going to go ahead and set up to make our fried dough. So I just pulled our pizza dip bread out of the oven. I'm going to slide it off the pan. We had a little bit of leakage, but that's not that bad of a thing. I'm going to stick it over here and just let it hang out. If we were to try to cut it right now, it's just too hot. We need it to cool down a little bit so that there's a little bit of cheese and tomatoes inside our bread when we go to finally eat it. Now, the last thing we're going to make. Oh, I forgot to tell you. While we were away, I took one of the hunks of dough because I realized Arthur doesn't have anything to eat the pizza dip on. So I took one of the hunks of dough, rolled it out into a breadstick, and just put some Parmesan cheese on top. I threw that on the same pan as the pizza. They'll be done at about the same time. And it's looking good. It's just about done. So what I'm going to do is flatten this dough out a little bit for our fried dough. You don't want your dough to be too thick or you're going to end up with just too thick of a piece of fried dough. You actually want it pretty thin so that it puffs up. You want there to be that bubble. If you think about going to the carnival and having a hunk of fried dough, it's not really dense, it's really light. It's a really efficient way to get, butter and sugar into your mouth just by loading it on top of some hollow dough. So fried dough is exactly that. It's dough that's fried. It doesn't really matter what kind of dough it is. I mean, if you look at donuts, essentially those are fried dough. You can get donuts that are made with yeast. You can get donuts that are risen with baking soda. So I'm just going to cut this into strips. I'm going to cut off a little one first and drop it into our hot oil just to see. And that oil is about perfect. We want our oil at about 350 degrees. You want to make sure you use a high-sided pan when you go to do it because you don't want any splattering. If you're doing this in a pan that's too small or you put in something wet, you can create a really dangerous situation. I'm actually going to turn this down. It's a little bit too high. Just so I can tell by how quickly it's cooking. We'll let that little sample one hang out in there for a second. And I'm going to roll out some others. And it doesn't matter what size or shape you do them. If you want to do triangles, do triangles. You want to do a big piece, we can cut up. We'll do a big piece like this. I'm going to stretch this one out a little more. And I'm just going to take it, and it doesn't matter what shape, as long as it fits in our oil. Now obviously you don't want to stick your fingers in the oil because it's very hot and it will burn you. So be careful when you do that. All right, that little one's done. I'm going to pull her out. The larger the piece you put in there, the longer it's going to take to cook, but not that much longer. Now you want to make sure you have a fair amount of oil in your pan. If you have just a very small amount, what's going to happen is when you start to add your dough, the temperature of the dough is actually going to lower the temperature of your oil. If the temperature of oil gets too low, you're going to end up with greasy fried dough. One of the kind of cool things about frying is if you do it correctly, food shouldn't be greasy. Because whatever you're frying typically has moisture in it. That moisture is inside the food product, but when it gets hot, it turns to steam. And it creates pressure that's forcing out, which isn't letting the fat get into your product. If you let something overcook and you let too much of the water get out, your fat's going to start going into your product, and that's where you get a really greasy French fry or piece of fried dough or whatever it may be. All right, that's looking pretty darn good, I would say. So we'll pull this guy out. And I'm going to cut a couple other pieces here and flatten them out a bit. And just drop them right in there. We'll take out these. So now you could even serve these, make these little sticks like this and serve them in like a vase or a champagne glass or something like that and have them sticking out and let people just grab out of them. It's way cool. You could put them in a big one of those monster martini glasses and put in some, little dipping sauce or some fruit and just stick these all around the edge. I mean, it's fried dough. It's good times. It's not going to last very long. You do want to serve it nice and hot. This isn't something you can do the day before. You can make the dough if you're going to make the dough from scratch. You could do that the day before. All right. Now you can see how these are actually taking a little bit longer to cook, and that's because the temperature of our oil has dropped. In the microwave here, I have some butter, which isn't quite melted yet, but we're going to go ahead and sprinkle some butter on top of these and toss them with a little bit of powdered sugar. We're going to get Arthur up here, slice into our pizza bread, pull out our cheeseburger pizza, and we'll see what he thinks of this food. All right, so here we are putting a little bit of butter on. An easy way to do this is with a paintbrush. I don't have one handy, which is fine. Utilize what you have around. So I'm just using a spoon. The butter plays a couple important roles here. One is it's going to give something for our powdered sugar to stick to, which is very important, otherwise it would fall off. But also, it adds some more fat, and the fat is flavor. Not that this isn't fatty enough, it was deep fried, but it's going to add a little bit more flavor and help those flavors actually stick in our tongue, believe it or not. That's what fat does for us. So I'm going to sprinkle this on here. I'm going to be pretty generous. All right. So, and then you can always take your powdered sugar, take your fried dough and kind of roll it around a little bit. Now, our pizza should be just about ready. Oh yeah. Here we go. Here's our finished pizza. So you can see all the different things on there. It actually looks like a regular pizza. You don't know that that's mayo and ketchup on the bottom and that there's American cheese. It just looks like a normal pizza. It's got some green things on there. This is the breadstick I was talking about. I put in for Arthur so we had something to dip the pizza dip in. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this right onto our cutting board. And our breadstick can go on there as well. And we can use our pizza cutter and cut it however you want. If you want to cut it into strips, cut it into strips that people can just grab at a party. Make them short. If you want to make big slices, make big slices. I think we're going to make it into a few big slices here. A pizza cutter is a great tool for this, but I grew up all the time with my mom cutting pizza with scissors. And you know what? I do it in my professional kitchen now sometimes. because it's just for something that's short, it's great to just grab a pair of scissors and snip right through. Those aren't going to be your paper scissors anymore, but they're they're actually excellent for cutting through some pizza. Now, this is kind of the moment of truth here with this. We'll see how it looks. Oh yeah. All right, here's the big reveal. There we go. That looks pretty darn good, I'd say. I'm happy with that. And so you want to look and just make sure your dough's cooked. The last place the dough is going to cook is right around where the filling is. And so look and see if it looks doughy. This is cooked all the way through. There's nice little bubbles from the yeast growing in there. All right, so I'm going to take a minute, clean up, get this stuff on a plate, and we'll get Arthur up here and try some more food. Hey Arthur.
Hi Matt.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We had a pretty eventful show tonight.
Really?
We got 4 different dishes out of it here. This one here, you actually know my Aunt Pam. This is her famous pizza dip. And we took a little bit of our pizza dough and made a little breadstick for you to try that with.
Okay.
Over here we've got the pizza dip baked inside some bread. So we've got pizza dip bread.
All right.
We've got your favorite, fried dough.
Fried dough.
Just coated in a little bit of butter, actually a lot of butter, and a lot of powdered sugar.
Okay. All the calories taken out?
Yeah, we left those over on the other side of the room.
All right.
Then over here, we've got our cheeseburger pizza. I'm not going to tell you exactly what's on there, but hopefully when you bite into it, you'll say, hey, it tastes like a cheeseburger.
Okay.
What do you feel like trying tonight?
Well, you have so much here. I'm not sure. So, you know what? I think I'm going to try the dip first. And I hope your Aunt Pam isn't going to be upset that you gave out the recipe. Because I'm sure she goes to a lot of places with this and doesn't want to tell anybody what it tastes like.
She told me what the recipe was. She can't be that closely guarded secret. I'll have some too.
That's good. Very, very good.
Anything else?
Well, the fried dough I'm leaning towards a fried dough, but I think I'm going to try the pizza because the pizza looks different, and I love pizza.
All right, well, that's what I'm going to have too then.
All right. Now that's wicked good.